2.5 years ago, I made this video while walking through a cemetery in Spremberg, a town located in the east of Germany, close to the border with Poland. It was a depressing experience, not so much because I have a problem with visiting cemeteries per se. It increases my empathy for the dead and I'm not afraid of death. The cemetery is a Soviet soldier cemetery. The monument is aptly called the Grieving Mother. The depressing part of the visit was what I learned about that Prussian, later German, nationalist Bismarck, specifically at that time when we were already witnessing disturbing escalation of the conflict around Ukraine. I really had to make an update now, shortly after a cunning Dutch politician from the stable of Klaus Schwab recently became Secretary General of NATO, a very strange guy called Mark Rutte. In these times it is good to be reminded of the 40s of the last century. It is good to reconsider the complex and horrible clash of nazism, communism and the free world of then. Mr. Putin not only remembers, so to speak, the horrors of communism, but also of Nazi hatred towards Russia. No, not just to the Russian nation, but to all Slavic peoples and the Russian people in particular. 200 individual graves and 500 names on that huge tombstones. Just a few years ago, the day before the German Liberation Day in May, that communist symbol, the 5-pointed star, was down. Mind you, the people who spoke out against it were not standing up for killed Russian soldiers, but for communism. 700 young people, 700 young men, of course. When you zoom in on individual graves, you see that sometimes the date of birth is missing, and sometimes even the date of birth and of death. When you look up, you see a tower that has absolutely nothing to do with those soldiers. It is the Bismarck Tower. At the top of it, you see the strange inscription, Nichts, German of course, that refers to an outspoken nationalist slogan that is attributed to this Bismarck. The entire slogan reads, "Germans fear God, but nothing else." Further on we come to a memorial that does have a direct connection with Nazism and the Second World War, more particular with the famous concentration camps. On the pedestal you can read about Opfern des Faschismus und Militarismus, and 28 names, victims of fascism and militarism. The number is a bit strange. These were just 28 prisoners who perished in Gouda, some 40 kilometers from this location. The bas-relief clearly refers to the millions of victims. First, the man is arrested by Nazis. He's still wearing a neat suit. He's forced to do hard labor. He's tortured, starved, humiliated, completely naked here. The reliefs continue on the other side. Here a starved, dead body is carried away by well-dressed Germans, thanks to the visionary Eisenhower, no doubt. In the context of denouncing that "Wir haben es nicht gewusst" narrative, he forced those Germans to acknowledge the horrors of the concentration camps. He also ordered to make lots and lots of photos and films. It's not clear what is depicted on the middle relief, but on the last one you clearly see a weapon, from a Russian soldier, of course. This is where that same tower comes into view. There are many Bismarck monuments in Germany, but something highly remarkable has happened to this specific one. Mr. Bismarck was for a long time the symbol of German national unification, of nationalism. And there is an information board. By the way, those girls we see didn't just come here to walk the dog, they really paid attention to the monuments. On the information board you can read that this tower has been renamed several times. In 1950 it was named after the communist foreman Ernst Thälmann. That was, of course, at the time one of the high points of the Cold War. Remarkably, that name was changed again in 1951 already. That was while Stalin still controlled the entire Eastern Bloc with an iron fist, and the name it got was the Georgienberg Tower. It was given a completely neutral name, its location. But in 1990, after German unification, it was given the old name again, named after that symbol of Prussian and German nationalism, respectively, Mark. You could argue that Bismarck was not the very worst kind of nationalist. He did not strive for the Third Reich like Hitler did. On the other hand, the most important thing that most history books report about him is that he managed to bring about German unity by entering into 3 wars from 1964 to 1871. This is the memorial of the town of Spremberg itself. Before I traveled to Germany, I did plan to visit this cemetery, but I was sure I had to do it after I saw a television program while in Germany. I watched a flabbergasting news item, part of a flabbergasting context. The unknown social democratic president of Germany, a guy called Steinmeier, having no real power, that's the chancellor, was in Poland because he wanted to go to Kiev with the presidents of Poland and the Baltic states to support Zelensky. However, he was not welcome there. In the same news item, however, it was reported that representatives of other political parties were welcome, other left-wing parties that were in the coalition government with the Social Democrats since a few months. Remember, these are former peaceniks and socialists who want to lend support to the ultra-nationalist Zelensky, who forbids opposition parties and has a fanatical monocultural agenda. Yes, it's good to reconsider the complex and horrible clash of Nazism, communism, and the free world.